Prediction season is officially here. These are my game-by-game predictions for the Alabama Crimson Tide in the 2024 college football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use promo code SECU for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, guys, it's our friends at Prize Picks. Promo code SECU to get your first deposit match today. Year one of the Kalen DeBoer era in Tuscaloosa is just around the corner. These are my game-by-game predictions for the Alabama Crimson Tide in the 2024 college football season. As we pull up Alabama's schedule and each of my selections, we will start in week one. Not a better way to bring in a new era of Alabama football than with a game like Western Kentucky. Kalen DeBoer and company should be able to get off to a very, very big start in this ball game. I expect the Crimson Tide to roll in this one. Jalen Milroe have a big game, and the offense will explode. It'll be a really fun debut for Kalen DeBoer at Bryant-Denny Stadium in week one. Week two, it's a rematch of last year against the South Florida Bulls. A really fun rematch because you think back, guys, of last year, this was the game Jalen Milroe benched. You felt like that we didn't know if Bama was going to be a 7-5 team, an 8-4 team, what they were going to be. Of course, they course corrected down the stretch. We saw them get to the college football playoff. But of course, that'll be the talking point. That'll be the storyline. I don't expect quite the dramatics we got a year ago. I think Bama rolls in this one. I think they win big to start their season 2-0. Then comes the road trip to Madison, Wisconsin. Now, I've got Alabama winning this football game. However, I think this is the first test for Kalen DeBoer. This is going to be our first glimpse where we look at it and say, guys, okay, is this still the Alabama we've all known for these years where they're going to pummel their opponent, they're going to dominate? Or does Alabama look more mortal than they have in years past? And I think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to look more mortal. I think this is going to be an uncomfortable game for Alabama fans. I think this is going to be back and forth. I think this one's going to be even closer than folks expect. I think this is a game that could come down to the final possession. But I do think Bama is going to find a way to win this football game. Let's make no mistake. Kalen DeBoer is a great football coach. Won everywhere he's been. He's going to have this football team ready. But I think it's going to be a very underrated, hostile environment. Wisconsin going to give Alabama their best shot. I don't think it's going to be quite enough. But with that being said, I think this is going to be a really, really fun game to watch. And it's going to be uncomfortable for those rocking for the Crimson Tide, but I do think Bama gets the win at Camp Randall. Then comes a bye week. Then you've got the SEC opener against the Georgia Bulldogs in Tuscaloosa. Night game, prime time. And the question for Georgia this offseason, guys, has been, was it a Nick Saban problem or was it an Alabama problem? Guys, right now, I cannot pick Alabama to win this football game. I know Bryant-Denny's going to be rocking. It's going to be one of the best environments this college football season, right? And I don't think the gap between Alabama and Georgia, I say gap, right? We're talking about a Bama squad that just beat Georgia in the SEC title last year. I'm taking nothing away from that. I'm taking nothing away from Alabama's success in the past. But this is 2024. This is not the past. This is a new era. This is not Nick Saban. I do think this will be a really fun, competitive game. I think the physicality in this game, it's going to be a car crash every single play. But I do think Georgia is going to go into Bryant-Denny, exercise some demons, take out some frustrations, and I do think Kalen DeBoer will get his first loss, and his first loss will be in his first ever SEC game in Tuscaloosa. Georgia comes in and wins in Bryant-Denny to drop Bama to 4-1. But I think they bounce back, wins over Vanderbilt and South Carolina. Vandy, pretty self-explanatory. I just don't think the Commodores have nearly the dudes to compete in a ball game like that. And then South Carolina, I think some will look at this. Maybe there's upset potential. Mid-October game, noon kickoff. We already know the kickoff time, noon Eastern, that is. 11 a.m. local time, maybe an 11 a.m. kickoff. Could things be a little sleepy? I don't think so. South Carolina doesn't have the bodies in the trenches, in my opinion, to compete with an Alabama. I do think they'll be able to lean on the Gamecocks and get the W there, moving Alabama to 5-1, heading into the matchup, the third Saturday in October at Tennessee, Neyland Stadium. And again, guys, I think Alabama is going to be a really solid team this year, but there's going to be some growing pains, undoubtedly. When you have the amount of roster turnover, brand new coaching staff across the board, so many new things. And I think what people don't give enough credit to, guys, is this. Because you only see on the surface all the positive things happening and the positive things people are saying about the culture and the changes. What you don't realize is, and I know with the portal, this is less frequent because if guys don't like it, they'll just leave, but there's just still a lot of turnover. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's still probably some resistance in that building, at least on that roster. So I say all that to say, dare I throw that P word around, patience in year one of Kalen DeBoer. I know this isn't year one at a typical stop, right? I know the expectation is to win the national title, but you go into a game like this against Tennessee at Neyland Stadium. I talked about those growing pains. Guys, what was it, like 17 years between Tennessee's last win against Alabama and that win in 2022 at Neyland Stadium? I don't think it's going to be another 17 years. I've got Tennessee beating Alabama. Notice I didn't say I've got Tennessee pulling the upset over Alabama because, I think there's a chance Tennessee's favored in this football game. I really do. Because in case you didn't realize, I'm fairly high on Tennessee as well. We know this is going to be either an afternoon kick or a night game. This is going to be one of the best environments in college football this season, guys. I think Neyland is going to be shaken just like it was in 2022. Thrilling game. I think we're back to this game being more of a healthy rivalry where we're going to get wins on each side. But with the game in Neyland, guys, I think it's a hard-fought game, tough game. I love Tennessee's front seven. I think they're going to make life somewhat chaotic for Jalen Milroe. And the offensive side, I'm a believer in Nico. I've got Tennessee winning this game. Alabama dropping their second game of the season, which, guys, Alabama sitting at 5-2. There's going to be a lot of chatter. There's going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of talk about Kalen DeBoer. This is where I think Bama kicks it into gear. The following week, you've got Mizzou on your home field. This is homecoming. I know a lot of people are thinking maybe Mizzou goes in here, wins the game in Tuscaloosa. I do think Bama's going to bounce back the right way. I think they've got enough to lean on Mizzou, run the football here, take advantage of maybe some questions on that defense. Jalen Milroe has a big day. I think Bama hard-fought win on the home field. They get a much-needed win here to move to 6-2. Then you've got the bye week. And then you go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to take on the LSU Tigers. Guys, going to be a great environment. We know that. Death Valley is going to be crazy. But if you look back over history, and I understand a couple years ago, it was at 2022, I think LSU, the last time they were here, I believe LSU, that was the 2-point conversion game. They beat them. But for the most part, Bama's had a lot of success winning in this building. And I think they'll do it again. I think Alabama will have a little bit more than LSU. I think LSU still got questions, guys. I'm not quite as high on LSU as some others. I think defensively, how big of a step forward can they take? We know offensively, they're not going to be quite as good as they were last year, which makes sense because you lose the Heisman Trophy winner. You lose a pair of first-round receivers. Still, I think this will be a classic, but I think Alabama is going to show us something here. On the road, finding a way, going to probably be a night game at Tiger Stadium there in Baton Rouge. Does not matter. Alabama, for the most part, they don't lose in Death Valley, and I think that'll be the case yet again. Alabama takes care of Mercer, no big deal. They'll run up the score on them in what is essentially the cupcake Saturday in the SEC there in mid to late November. Then Alabama goes on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. Man, this one's going to be a blast. I think for Oklahoma, listen, very proud fan base. They're excited to be in the SEC. They don't want to hear that they're going to have growing pains and that, if you say Oklahoma's going to win 7 games or 6 games, I mean, it's like blasphemy. And you look at the history of the program, I understand it. But I do think there's going to be growing pains. And I think Bama going on the road to Norman, going to be a fun environment of the fun game. Jalen Milroe versus Jackson Arnold. Kalen DeBoer against Brent Venables. Really important game for both squads. Bama finds a way to get the road dub, which brings us to the Iron Bowl against the Auburn Tigers at Bryant-Denny Stadium. This one under the lights at Bryant-Denny. Guys, you look at this game. Auburn is a boomer bust team for sure, and I'm not ruling out. I think Auburn could pull this upset. That being said, I'm not picking it. Like I said, guys, you see the schedule. I think in the last 5 weeks of the season, I do think Bama's going to find their stride after the Tennessee loss. I think things are going to start to click. They're only going to get better in year 1 of Kalen DeBoer. They are. It's going to be a kind of a, figuring things out early. You wish that Georgia game, maybe you could swap that Georgia and that Oklahoma game. I think that could change the results of it. But the last couple weeks of the season, last month and a half of the season, I think it shapes up well for Alabama to go on a run. I do think they beat Auburn. I think Auburn with Peyton Thorne, you're a quarterback away. You're probably some guys in the line of scrimmage away. You're some depth away. I know 4th and 31 is going to be all we're going to hear about, but I do think Bama is going to find a way to win this football game. I think they beat the Auburn Tigers. And I've got Alabama, when the dust settles, finishing 10-2 overall, 6-2 in conference play, and putting them square on the college football playoff bubble, maybe even in the college football playoff, depending on how everything shakes out with other rankings, other conferences, what have you. But right square in the college football playoff conversation, and a 10-2, 6-2 conference record, what I would call a success for Kalen DeBoer in year 1 of his tenure in Tuscaloosa. So, guys, when you look at Alabama's 2024 schedule, what are your picks? What are your predictions? Where do you agree with me? Do you disagree? How do you think the Alabama Crimson Tide will fare in the 2024 college football season? Guys, that's going to do it for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.